I'm going to take you back to 2015. I'm 7 years in at the time. And like anybody who's ever started a business, I've been through a lot. In fact, I tell people I've been through 19 of the 20 worst things that can happen when you start a business. So I've been on the edge, but in 2015, it's feeling good. I'm actually really energized, and we're making money. We're growing really, really fast. This is what entrepreneurial life is supposed to be like. And then I'll say all of a sudden, out of the blue, on one shiny day, on the 15th of January 2015, the Swiss bank depegs from the euro. And who's ever in this business of currencies will know this was a major thing for that industry, and it pretty much wiped out, or at least challenged 50% of our entire customer base. So I'm thinking, what's happening here? We are now hitting 20 of the 20 worst things here. We hit a black swan event. This is not even my fault, but we are almost out of business. And I'll say for the next 72 hours, which is part of this story, we are really struggling to survive. So I'm sitting in the London office at the time, and I'm going through the motions, and I do what I'm always doing. I go to action. I'm saying, I can fix this. Don't worry. We start to call customers. We start to call people. But at some stage, not having slept for 48 hours, I sit at my desk and I start to cry. And I feel tears coming down my chin, and I'm like, I don't actually cry ever. And I think back on my childhood, and as a 12-year-old kid, I was playing tennis. I was kind of coming up, and I was playing the number three person in Denmark, a guy called Jonathan. Everybody told me, you can't beat Jonathan, he's way too good. But I kind of set my mind to it, and I ended up winning against him. And this for me has been, and you can see me picking up a prize there, this has for me has been how I deal with business. I set my mind to it and I go for it. But this time it kind of feels different. So I'm back in the office now, and I'm leaving. I have to get out. I'm taking the elevator down, and in January in London is very cold. So I find a deserted street there, and I sit down on the pavement, and I call my wife, Catherine. And as I hear her pick up the phone, I start to cry. I really break down. I can't handle it. And we've been together, as you can see here, since we've been 18 years old. So she's been through the journey of what does it mean to build a business, all these things we can do once we are there, all the holidays we can take. But she's also been part of the other side of the medal, which is, I'm not there for the birthdays. Sorry I missed that flight, so I'm not coming home Friday. You're going to have to deal with this yourself. So as I go through the motions here, I'm thinking, all the stuff, all the sacrifice I've done are worth nothing if the business is gone. And it's like somebody takes a hammer and just slams it into my chest like that. I could hardly breathe, and I'm thinking, how can I do this? And I'm expecting Catherine to kind of say, you know, what are we going to do with the kids? How are we going to pay for school? How are we going to pay for cars? Are we selling the house? What's happening here? But she doesn't actually say that. She says something very different. She's like, honey, I can hear you are stressed, you haven't slept. Why don't you come home and we hang out together and we sort it later? Doesn't really matter. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, are you really saying this? It's like some light. I feel the light in my face now. The same kind of light hitting me at that stage. It was a feeling of lightness. You know, how can anybody tell you when my whole life I've been thinking this is about creating something? It doesn't actually matter. So I learned from that at that time that what matters in these moments when you're naked and you have nothing, the people that truly love you, they love you for who you are and for what you give, not for what you created and what you can kind of pay for. So that was one of these central learnings in my journey. And once I took that, I went straight back to the office. And I was in the mindset of just fixing stuff. And we had an extraordinary turnaround. So I would say over the next 18 months, we went from pretty much being between life and death to in November in 2016, I sold the business in what became the biggest transaction of that year. So I've been through a lot in this journey, as you can hear, and there's a common lesson in this. And for me, it's about when you have these moments when it's really tough, what determines whether you come out on the other end is your mind and your heart at that moment. So I want to take that to more broader entrepreneurship and share some of my kind of reflections going through this. And Naveen is absolutely right. It's not an easy stage to be on because it is very personal. And so I think for me, entrepreneurship is very much like a dark forest. Anybody who's ever going to try to create something new, who's going to go off the new path and go on the unknown, for me it's a little bit like going into a dark forest. You go in there, it's a little bit cold, it's a little bit lonely, you think you're wearing enough clothes, but you're not actually wearing enough clothes. And even if you're wearing enough clothes, it's the wrong clothes. And it's very, very silent, but you hear lots of noises around. It's like there's parties going on everywhere but where you are. You hear people having fun, drinking, partying, and all this stuff. But right where you are, it's very quiet. And in fact, the voices you hear are not voices of people having fun. The voices you hear are people that have told you all your life, you can't do this, you shouldn't do this, you should be doing something else. Why don't you do like your cousin, become a doctor? And in fact, when I started thinking, you know, the whole entrepreneurial journey is going to be great because everybody tells me once you've done the business plan, you raise some funding, the rest is easy. The reality is for me and for most people who start a business is a large part of the journey is really tough. And I never really felt like a rock star in this journey. Actually, throughout is really, really tough. So I've thought a lot about why do I do and take myself through this much pain? Why do I do this? And I'm actually, as Naveen said also, I'm in the second journey now. So what is it that makes me come back? And my reflection to you on this is quite simple. When I started the business, I started for the money, the fame, and kind of the recognition I would get. Realities are when you're sitting in the moments of life and death and you don't know if you're going to make it to another day. The money and the fame doesn't actually matter. You know, just the concept of thinking that money is important at that stage is irrelevant. What matters at that time is what you tell yourself in your own mind. And I call this the little voice, you know, the voice of the heart. You know, the thing that nobody really knows where it's coming from. Maybe it's destiny, maybe it's your dad didn't give you enough recognition, maybe it's a really screwed up childhood. That was certainly my case. But whatever it is, that little voice, it's like you're going again, you're in the woods and you think it's all out, but you close your eyes and you feel, I need to go this direction, I need to do it for this reason. So my experience has been, when I'm in these moments, I close my eyes and I listen inwards. And it's like a little bit of a light that opens up in just part right side of the forest. I go to that side, and again I go to the next light. And slowly but surely, I found that I don't see the whole path, but I see each step at a time. And following that path has always kind of led me to the other side of the wood, where when I ended out there, this was where it's supposed to be. So what I want to say to everybody here is you will face time of toughness, and you will face difficult times, and you will be by yourself in that forest. And my advice or my reflection to you is all the things that you think matters doesn't actually matter. What matters is you going inside and listening to that voice of the heart. And I hope you can find some learnings from that, and I really appreciate you listening to me for a little bit over 10 minutes.